So before we get started on shapes, I like to start with the blob. And the blob is really, really helpful because it sort of starts you off on a track, and then it allows you to see later what it is that you want to see. Right now, the intent and the goal is simply to do a nice blob. And what is a nice blob? It's where all the colors are blending together, either on the paper or with a little bit of mixing on the palette. Both of those techniques can work together to just create a beautiful shape on the paper that is then usable to develop into a negative painting. All right, so I was looking at the colors I wanted to use this time, and I thought probably I would pick like a purpley color. What I'm thinking about is a floral painting that will have pinks and blues. So I'll get a nice purple. Let's just see here. Purpley effect. We can see that already, how that turns out. And we can tell if we like it or not. We can also sample it on the side. We can put a little bit more color here, see how that turns out. But this is a nice effect. So phthalo blue, quin rose, and I also took out some quin deep gold. And what the quin deep gold will do is it will darken my color at the end when I want to really make an intense black or gray in order to show off some of the details of the painting. But let's just bring out that gold and see how that looks. Anyways, gold. The gold is going to give me some beautiful greens too. So the idea is to stick to about 2 to 3 colors. 2 is beautiful, and then 3 is the accent one. So be careful not to overuse your third color. In this case, my third color is going to be the gold. And I have an image here that I found that I thought I would like, but I'm not going to copy exactly this image. All I want to do is get the shape, the floral shape, and then maybe work on some leaves. There are no leaves here, so I'll definitely have some leaves. This is now also a horizontal piece of paper versus this is vertical. Now, I could turn this around and do the vertical, which would probably be really, really nice. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to do it horizontally. And before I even get to this, I'm going to make some blobs. Should I make several blobs? Nah, maybe I'll just make one big blob. And I think for some of you, you've seen this before. Let's get started with the blobbing. All right, so now on my palette, I want to make sure that I have enough color pigment to cover the whole area. Now this is just definitely not enough color. And I leave my tubes very close to me because I do want to be able to access them quickly if I need them. Now notice I added a little bit more water here to this mix, and what I'm going to do is mix up some of it, maybe not all, because I want to find a nice balance of water and pigment for my first wash. And if I take a look at this, that's not bad, okay? Let's try that now with the blue. This is the phthalo blue green shade. It's really quite lovely, and it mixes so well with my red. I'm just going to take a little bit of water here. Let's bring some of that water in there. All right. This is very, very, very intense. A lot of people don't like to use phthalo blue because it is so intense, but it is also very beautiful on paper. especially when it mixes with the rose. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to use a different brush for the yellow. And let's see here. Let's add my water this way. I want to control how much I put in here. And we have a little bit of yellow. And I will use a little bit of that yellow in the background because knowing the color wheel, I will also know that this is the lightest color of these three. The red, even if it's a very light coat, it's still a darker value than the yellow. So I want to introduce a little bit of yellow to keep some of that brightness, some of that lightness. And I'm not going to put it everywhere, but I will use some of it in my background, and then I'll bring in some reds and some of the blues, but to make purple. I don't want the blues to be overpowering yet. This is very strong, so I'm going to have to be very careful on how I use my blue. I'm going to keep my brush handy here. It's got some blue in it, okay? And when I get to it, I'll just grab that and use it. And to get started, just to get started with my blob, I'm going to pick some of the yellow with a big brush. What I'm envisioning is that I will go from a light color to a dark color, and on this side of the paper, I'm going to start with some of that nice yellow. And I can even wet the paper a bit just to get started up here, because I don't want to create any kind of line at this point. I want everything to be soft and flowing, and again, maybe just bringing it up to the top. That's why I use a big brush, okay, because I'm trying not to do too, I can have some of those little white areas showing up. That's always great. Introducing some of that red, that's the Quin Rose, and then let's bring that down into the painting here. Maybe we'll just throw in a couple of little spots up here just to have that variety. Otherwise gets boring. And then here's some of that purple color. Now I'm going to bring my blue over here and mix it up first, because I don't really want all that blue. It's too strong right now. This is going to be a very soft look when we're done. Okay, now let's start with some of that blue in here, maybe just up here. Try to maybe throw in a little bit of that yellow down into the corner here, although corners are not really a great place to have lightness, other than maybe at the top, but bottom corners are usually reserved for a little bit more darkness. I mean, of course it depends what you're doing, but I usually, for me anyways. All right, and there's the blob. Okay, and why is it a blob? Because I'm not covering the entire sheet of paper, although I went pretty close to doing that, but there are some areas of whiteness that are going to shine through over here at the top. The blob is really just the space here in the middle of the painting, and that's the part that I'm going to focus on. The rest will be more of a background effect, but I do want to put my subject in the center. So, you know, if you put more than one flower, you might want to use the rule of thirds. Okay, so we'll let this dry and then we'll see what happens.